We are live. What's up, everybody? And here, the movie brother. We are going to have a little conversation here for the next hour and talk about this new film, the 24th. Hopefully, a lot of you have had an opportunity to check it out. I'm not going to have this conversation by myself. My brother Mike with Real Black is going to join us also. So once he gets on, I'm gonna pull him in, and yeah, we're gonna have a conversation and talk about this film. So it should be good. It should be good. Hope everybody's having a blessed Sunday. Hope you had a great weekend. I have so far. Can't complain. I see Linda in here. Hi, Linda. Hello, hello, hello. See Mike's in. There we go. Let me get you in here, Mike. Just accepted your request.
Hey, can you hear me
There he
okay?
is.
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. You can hear me okay?
Okay. Yeah, it's perfect. We learned since the last time. I think my Wi-Fi is better, and I'm gonna tilt you down.
And hopefully, I'm gonna try to set my phone here. Hopefully, my Wi-Fi is okay too. But if it gets choppy or something, let me know. Uh,
Yes. So we have
but
one other person for Robert Golfin. Again, repeat business. That's always good. Room's starting to fill up. How you been, man? Let's not
man,
waste time.
I'm doing great, brother. Man, it's good to see you, man. It's been a minute. You're looking
Yeah.
well.
Thank you. Yeah, we were in COVID last time, but I moved a little bit. I'm in a different location. I'll give people a
Hmm.
view
So,
here. Gotta show people
okay.
off. It's like
Now, where are you in Philly?
Wilmington, Delaware, which is yeah, you can kind of see it. Still on my sabbatical, but it was interesting because I didn't know that where I'm staying is right across from where they had the convention this week. So I
Oh,
was
wow.
kind of sequestered. Yeah, CIA were in the hotel here, and the streets were blocked. I mean, it was quiet.
Yeah.
Nobody really comes down this area, but
Hmm.
it kind of disrupted parking, and then COVID. I don't want to be near anybody, so it's like all these masses of people just kind of like
Hmm.
hanging out. But yeah. I
Keep
don't
the
have my.
masses.
Yeah,
No, it's all
I
right.
got a
I
bottle
think
of
you're
water.
since we're virtual. Since we're virtual, I think you're okay. But I see Linda and Harry on. What's up, guys? And as folks, I see folks are coming in and stuff. But for those of you that don't know, I will share with you again that we are myself as well as Mike, and we'll introduce ourselves. But we're here to over the next hour have a conversation about the new film, The 24th. Okay. We've all been talking about it all week on all of our different social medias and everything. And, essentially, this is a film that is about the all black 24th Infantry, right? Part of the U.S. Army. Yep. Mike has it up there. And they were based out of just outside of Houston, Texas, right? This film takes place in 1917. and there's a riot that takes place in Houston, right, with the locals as well as the police department. And this is based on a true story, by the way. But we're going to talk about the film, we're going to chop it up. And, for those of you that have seen it, or even if you haven't, just, we want you to engage in conversation with us and dialogue. We're going to be watching the feed and stuff. So questions, comments, all of that good stuff. We welcome it. We appreciate it. So with that said, let's do some quick introductions here. So first and foremost, this live Instagram live event, Mike and I have kind of done a little takeover here with Denton Black Film Festival over their Instagram. But this would not be possible without the folks from Denton Black Film Festival. If you're not familiar with them, you should absolutely get familiar with them. They have a love and passion for film and art in general, and they're passionate about getting our stories told. Okay, they have an annual film festival every year. They are having one for 2021. I know they're working out the details in terms of what percentage would be. It's going to be some kind of hybrid of virtual versus physical, what have you. But nevertheless, they will have something. I've had the pleasure of participating in the festival before, and it's awesome. As for me, my name is Anthony Johnson. I go by Ant. I am the movie Brotha. I've been a film critic for over 8 years now. Something I started doing out of, I just felt like there was a lack of film critics that looked like myself and Mike, right? And I'm a huge film fan. So instead of me just complaining about it, I said, well, why don't I do something about it? But you can check me out. I'm all over. I have a website, Instagram as well. The movie Brotha, Brutha. So follow me there. And yeah, Mike, you want to introduce yourself?
It's a movie brother,
Brotha,
brother, like the
Brotha.
Wayans brothers. And we're colored. Yeah, my name is Mike Dennis. Go by Mike D. And I guess I'm best known at this point. I mean, I make films, I promote films, but I'm probably best known right now as the curator, founder of the Real Black channel on YouTube. And if you haven't visited there yet, I guess a few people will be watching this on the replay on the channel. But check it out. We try to post things every day that help to entertain, educate, enlighten, and empower using the magic of Black film. So, I'm really excited to talk about this film, and I guess there is a connection between this film and the last time that we spoke, in the sense that what you want to, I'm handing it off to you, but.
Yeah, no, there is. Right, the last time we were in this setting, we were having a conversation about The Five Bloods, which I was pretty hype, and that's on Netflix. If you guys haven't had a chance to check that out, please do. And so great in such a short time span to see films. Which, by the way, The Five Bloods is set. You got five Black Vietnam vets who basically go back to Vietnam to try to figure out a treasure, what have you. But the common theme there, right? Black folks serving our country, right? Which Mike and I talked about this on the last time, and I still feel the same way, right? A lot of military or war-based films, we as in Black folks are not represented properly. So it's great to see that, and good to see it again here. So a couple
Yeah,
of things. Well, I guess
and
go ahead.
importantly, I mean, both films were written by Kevin Wilmot. Kevin is Spike Lee's collaborator on his last 3 or 4 films, starting with Chirac.
Yep.
And
Black
he
Klansman.
won an Academy Award with Spike for the screenplay for Black Klansman. So this is the first film that he's written and directed since that Oscar win. So it's very interesting. Again, as you say, that it's dealing with the military theme, as did The Five Bloods. So let's jump in, however you want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the first thing, just considering that the times we're in, a two-part thing I'll say here. First of all, for anyone that has not seen the film, you can see the film on Vimeo, right? Vimeo. You know, search it, you can find it. And even I know Denton Black Film Festival on their page, they have links to it and all of that good stuff. So you can go out there, rent the film. Very inexpensive. That's how you access it. Now, with that said, let's transition and talk about, at least for a little bit as we go into this, how we even watch this film, right? We're dealing with video on demand now, right? No, we're not going to the movie theaters. You know, they, for the most part, they're still shut down. What has been your experience, you know, fellow film critic Mike, what has been your experience in film watching it, heck, over the past, you know, right, 4 months or so now?
It's interesting. I mean, I was steering away from the theaters to begin with for a while. It was kind of funny. I found the ticket stub for the last movie that I saw in the theater was Bad Boys 3, you know. But you know, I was steering away from that naturally, you know, as we transitioned away from me being a full-time critic and having to be at the advanced screenings
Mm-hmm.
to just being almost like a civilian in a sense. Um, you know, the reality I think for everybody is, I mean, criticism is probably the most needed thing right now because, you know, there's such a flood of content, things to do with your time outside of even watching movies, entertainment, TikTok. You know, Will Smith, you could spend an hour just watching Will Smith on and Kevin Hart on TikTok. You know,
Right.
so I think it's really important that we, you know, tell people what's worth their time and make people aware of things that they would otherwise not be aware of. You know, and to be clear, this movie's available on all video on demand platforms, but the Denton Festival has a special link where if you use the
Yes.
Denton Vimeo link, then you're helping the film festival provide funds for kids. But if you don't have Vimeo on your device, you can go to iTunes or Amazon Prime or any of the Roku things and
Yeah.
still
Thank
find
you.
it for rent or sale. But yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's interesting because you know, what I've been saying to my filmmaker friends is that this quarantine kind of levels the playing field in a lot of respects.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily because you know, money's still going to be your big issue, but the studios have to scramble to figure out how they're going to reinstitute their mode of business. And a lot of but audiences still have this need for content and for information, for entertainment. So, you know, whoever can kind of beat the rush on those things, and you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, you should be working on your Donald Trump movies now, your satires now, because it's going to take Hollywood another 5 years for them to figure it out. So if you can figure out how to be ahead of that curve, if you're an independent filmmaker, I think it's great. And one of the movies that I did happen to experience on demand, and it's great because you can watch in your underwear. Um, it was the Tijuana Jackson movie, which when I spoke to Romany Malco, he actually said this was great for him because he always imagined his film being a pocket film, something that you can watch on a smaller screen at your own leisure without the kind of pressure of what a movie theater experience is. You know, so it's interesting because everything's got to be scaled down now, and it becomes more important for the films to actually have something to say. You know, you can't just blow them away with hype or everybody's going to
Yeah.
see this weekend, go see it. You know, I mean, Netflix still has that cachet in terms of what the water cooler, the Twitter talk is. But as far as the one-to-one experience that we have with our film going experience, it's very interesting in this time period to basically experience everything on these screens.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think you really hit it on the nail with, you know, I feel like it has leveled the playing field. I've had an opportunity, which I would put even 24th in this, to see films that maybe I would not have, you know, had the opportunity to see straight up.
Hmm.
So, you know, it's good. It's really good. So let's get into this. Those of you that are just coming in, thank you guys for joining. Hey, we're gonna have a conversation about this film, the 24th. Would love to get your engagement, right? Your comments, questions, feedback. I'm gonna run through some folks I see in here. Just Malu 1920, Pottery Grandma, Zachary AA, Bashan, Ras Rebel, Greyhound, uh, Will, Pam, Pamis,
Oh, this black. Okay.
FW Pro, yeah, Black's
I'm
Film
afraid to
Fan.
touch the screen. Yeah, I see some come in and out. I mean, but if you're there, we're going to try and avoid this. If you've seen the film, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't seen the film, type something in so we're kind of aware.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do. So yeah, this watching this film, it was very, very interesting for me, and just to be honest, I mean, some of the scenes in the film, man, were just very heavy. I mean, right, again, just a little bit of background for those that don't know or are coming in. Right, this film is set in 1917. You have an all-black uh, Army regiment called the 24th. They are based in Houston, Texas. And right, so segregation, every Jim Crow, all of that's in full force, and not able to go fight, right? So you've been trained, although you've been trained to do so, and dealing, true story, by the way, but down there in Houston, dealing with all kinds of racism, and there's a lot of tension in the city, right, in Houston, between locals, in particular the Houston Police Department, and the infantry. And things come to a head on one night. It was August 23rd, 1917, and there's a riot. People get killed, civilians, soldiers, policemen, and that's the premise of the film, really. Now, it's again based on a true story, and film being set in that time, right? There were a lot of scenes that, man, were very graphic and very difficult to watch. And although I know these things happen, obviously I wasn't around during that time, but right, just through history, I'm aware that they happened. But it's one thing to be aware of it, but then to see it depicted, right, to get that visual, it's a whole nother thing. It's a whole nother thing. So, man, at times I was mad as hell, bro. you know,
Right.
for lack of better words, I mean, I was livid. Um, there,
But
there, oh, go
I
ahead.
mean, well, I'm looking at the film. I mean, first of all, I enjoyed the film. I think
Hmm.
my first recommendation, if you watch this next to Birth of a Nation, like if you watch The Birth of a Nation, the the one that came out a couple years ago, um, and then you watch this one, the Nat Turner movie, and then you watch this one, it's almost like a continuation because the way the Nat Turner movie, which was a rebellion film, ends, it shows sort of the spirit of Nat becoming these soldiers, right? So it's almost like if you just cut the credits at Nat Turner and you put this one on, it's like you fast forward 50 years, and this is what these people who are now fighting for their freedom on behalf of the United States have to put up with or deal with in terms of that. And on it personally, I wasn't aware of this story. So kudos to Kevin for choosing to tell the story, especially with the cachet. I'm sure there's something he's been working on, but the cachet of saying Oscar winner and then assembling such a great cast and putting the movie together. I mean, I thought some of the writing, and we're not here to overly criticize the film because
Right.
we are partners with Vertical on this, and we just want to raise awareness. Primarily, we'll leave it to you to see it, but I would encourage
That's
everybody to
right.
see it because it's sort of it's almost like you could put that in like a Lego set, Birth of a Nation, Nate Parker, and then Kevin Wilmot's 24th, and almost see a continuation. And then also, I felt some of it was a little heavy-handed in terms of the writing because the time that we're spending seeing just the disregard for humanity that the white civilians have towards these black soldiers kind of took some of the things that we saw. One of the things that we never see or very seldom see in American film is blacks fighting back, right? So anybody who had complaints about the Harriet Tubman movie or any Queen and Slim or any of the movies that were out this time last year, I think this one is revolutionary in the sense that we get to see what rebellion is from very interesting and shaded perspectives. But with that in mind, I felt like some of it was just too heavy-handed to make out specific people to be the villains, in order to get the denouement, the ending that the film shows you, to give you that catharsis. They villainize these people so much. But the next movie I would like to see is one that just shows not just the resentment that they had towards our skin color, and even the envy that they had towards the Trey Bayers character, and the fact that he was educated, and I think they do a very good job showing that he's fighting it on both sides because he's got the colorism happening, but then he's also looked to be sort of like the mascot. It's sort of like that idea that you're half of you belongs to us. You're one of our Negroes, kind of things. But just what's been missing from all these films is just the other aspect that not only that they had some wealth. You talk about Black Wall Street. You're seeing black people that are really trying to make it, that are playing piano, playing jazz, civilized, beyond
Educated.
just trying to do everything within the constrictions of this world that they live in to be colonized and Europeanized, and they can't even get that. So I think any when you see these types of things and they go on, and I think what's brilliant about this film is that it goes back into the past to bring you all the emotions that are happening today. So the slogan then was "I am a man." The slogan now is Black Lives Matter. But I mean, if you Google "I am a man," 1917, 1918, you'll see the efforts that were made in protest then. That was the slogan. So, I mean, I think as a historian, Wilmot does a great job. I think it is a little heavy-handed in that respect, but it didn't turn me off because
Yeah.
there were other things that were happening that I thought were interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think everyone absolutely should see the film. And, my comment earlier even saying, how some of these scenes were so disturbing, not that of just it being depicted like towards the film. I'm saying just knowing that these things actually happened.
Yeah, but I go in knowing that. That really doesn't, I go in knowing that, and I think,
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I go in knowing that to a certain extent, but I still don't know that a guy's going to get urinated on his head, somebody's going to piss on his head, for example, right? Now, I'm from Texas, right? Still living in Texas, took Texas history. So interesting, never talked about this, right? I had no awareness
it's true.
of this event or what happened. Seeing this film made me think about, right? And I put this in there, I'm one of those people at this point, I understand, where the phrase Black history came from, but I am at a point in my life, to be honest with you, that, hey man, it's American history. It's all American history. And I have a sense of that feeling that, portions of my education, I was cheated, right? Because I wasn't told the entire truth. If you don't tell the whole story, I take issue with that, right? And so
Well,
many
then
stories like,
you say, well, why is that?
well,
Why is that?
Well, because there's, and I don't want to take us too far off the course,
No, you
but I
should
mean,
take it as far. Why
well,
is
but
that?
I mean, I think that our country has a history of, you know, they wanted to create their own narrative of, hey, this is the kind of story that we want to tell for a number of different reasons, right? To control different groups of people in this country, right? I'm talking about Black people, right? It's it's a
Well,
method.
it's written, it's in books people don't read. If more people read, more people would know this story. We have to wait for
But
film to
but
come
but
along.
I mean, you just said yourself you never heard of this, and I know you read. So
Yeah,
why don't why
I'm
don't you
not
know
pointing the
about the
finger
story?
at you. I'm just saying, if you say why is it, it's because we really, until now, we didn't have the opportunity to tell our own story.
But I think it goes beyond that, though. I think it goes beyond just saying, hey, we should read more, right? The information is out there, but and when I was referring to my education, I'm talking about like public school, right? As a kid going, hey, I'm taking American history, Texas history, whatever. I mean, this is part of the standard curriculum.
I'm just saying this is a rare opportunity to see this story because you, all right, first off, we didn't get this story very often prior to
If at all.
digital video.
Right.
The barrier of entry was prohibitive. I mean, I talk to filmmakers all the time, and like for years, Julie Dash, her dream project was Bessie Coleman. I have friends that want to tell Marcus
Absolutely.
Garvey. I know people that want to do this. I mean, this is a fitting film for now because it basically deals with the same sort of things that are sparking off Black Lives Matter. But
Yes.
what's the convergence here? It's here. I mean, because movies with Black people come out all the time, but most of the time it's not. It's too risky, let's say, for a first-time filmmaker to put their career on the line to you know point something out like this. We saw
Yeah.
what happened with Nate Parker. So
Yeah.
Kevin,
Which was a great film.
this
It
is
was
not
based
his
on Kevin.
first film. Every film he's made has dealt with history on some level. And in the past, they've given me a rub because some of them were sort of like geared towards satisfying the white audience first. This is the first movie that I've seen of his that you could look at it and say, hey, kind of it's like Glory because Thomas Hayden Church has some scenes and you understand
Hmm.
what his situation is, why he is in command. But it's really, I'm about agency. Like very seldom, if you really want to look at film and Black characters, do we have agency over our own lives? Right? So you're talking about soldiers who are sacrificing their lives for something that they believe in, a cause that they believed in. So here is we don't see the same disenchantment that Nate Parker, because everything is through Nate Parker's eyes, it's not through a systemic thing where his perception shifts. But this is a rare film where you get to see Black people who are heroic and in charge of their own destiny in a sense. They make a choice. Even in Queen and Slim, we're denied that moment of, I know the jig is up. I'm going to die on my feet rather than stay on my knees. And I think that's an important statement. In Juice, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
Hmm.
the original, when Tupac dies in Juice, the original scene was he intentionally lets go of his hand and plummets to his own demise, which echoes the James Cagney, death in White Heat. But the studio was so uncomfortable with it that they forced them to go back and cut it so it looks like he accidentally slips, right?
Hmm.
So very seldom do we get this image. And I think it's very important, despite what you take from the film itself, that you understand that what this movie is doing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm watching the feed. Just a couple of questions, comments. Someone asked, "Are we both in Denton?" Neither one of us are actually in Denton. I am in Dallas, Texas at the moment, and Mike is in Wilmington, Delaware.
Wilmington, Delaware, yes.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So neither one of us are in Denton. And then also there was a comment about, right, Trey Byers is starring in the film, and then he also has screenwriting credit. So the question was, is that unusual? Uh, I don't think it is. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Mike. Is that?
Well, my he is a central figure in the film, and I think I wouldn't know the history, like whose idea was it first, but Trey Byers was in one of Kevin's previous films, Destination Planet Negro. So they have a history of collaboration, and
Mhm.
he's very strong in the film. He's very good.
Yeah, he is. He's very good. Which film are we discussing? We are discussing the 24th. We're discussing the 24th. Another question we have here. Do we think the various themed subjects aside from racism, classism, the black elite? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Now, oh gosh, it was a film you remember. Well, we've talked about the Five Bloods, but I'll tell you a film that kept coming to mind as I was watching this film
Hmm.
is A Soldier's Story, which is one of my all-time favorite films, period. But watching the interaction between the soldiers themselves, right? I mean, the black men themselves, um, you know, some are educated, some are not educated, right? Some are well
Hmm.
traveled, right? Character Boston, Trey Byers' character, right? He's traveled the world. He's a musician, and all these great things. And other guys got sketchy backgrounds, and so and even today, that's something that we deal with, and even within the black community, you can deal with the question of, well, who's black? What's black? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that is absolutely something that I picked up on in the film. I appreciated it. Glad it was addressed for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it's sort of like Trey. It's sort of like it starts off as a fish out of water story, with Trey sort of having been away from the United States, because I think it was incited because of some racial stuff. But he
mhm.
he almost like expatriate comes back to serve his country, and then is thrust into this system where um, he's perceived as someone they want to promote further and help train other Negroes, and he wants to stay behind and have a chance to fight. So, internally, he doesn't get to Europe to fight, but he stands up for what he believes in. And I think that's an interesting arc that he manages in the film.
Mhm. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so but heroism comes in a lot of different levels. I mean, if you're talking about the woman character, she's interesting.
Marie.
Marie. I mean, they do. I mean, for a limited budget, they weave a
No,
lot of ideas in.
I saw
Not
a comment.
everything sticks. But
Yeah, so, sorry, and I saw this just in the comment, and I don't recall this, and maybe I missed it. But so Marie is the love interest of Boston, Trey Byers' character. But there's a comment of her being sexually assaulted. Was she sexually assaulted in the film?
well, it comes later in the film. But she says in one of her speeches that she was raped by white people, and I mean, it adds more fuel to the fire in
Hmm.
terms of it gives him another level for why they must take this action at the end. You know. So, uh, yeah, it's in there. It
Yeah. Okay.
gives her a little more meat to the character's bones,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it comes through in the dialogue. It's not necessarily in the action. The visuals. You want to talk about that a little bit? I thought they were interesting the way the film was shot.
I thought it was shot very well. Yeah, I thought the visuals were great. I think that's part of what contributed to, like I was saying, some of the scenes were so tough for me to watch, just based on how they, how that was put together. There, the scene where Boston and oh gosh, what was the other guy's name? The kind of the troublemaker cat. They get into a scuffle. Another soldier, they get into a scuffle, and basically they're being punished by. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, no, I was being corrected. I
Oh, okay.
misread it. Story: Marie was raped by a deacon. All right, so forget what I said. She was raped by a deacon, but she was so forget. All right, so it doesn't add weight to the story. It wasn't a bunch of white people raping her, and he's seeking vengeance. But that's for another film, I suppose. All right, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no, that's okay. Yeah, but I mean, basically, there's a scene where they're being punished, right? They get whipped essentially with a bag of grapefruits. That was, that was one of those scenes that was. I mean, it was difficult to take. It was difficult to watch. Um, but no, I thought it was shot very well.
Well,
Um,
yeah, well, that was interesting. It adds fuel to the fire. I mean, visually, I thought a lot of it felt like a graphic novel. You know, it's the costumes, the wardrobe, the camera work was very clean and very good.
mhm.
I mean, when they get to the later parts in the film that take place at night, and you add the element of rain and different dramatic things, it really felt real. But but it didn't. It also didn't feel like a big history lesson, and it didn't feel like they were sanitizing the truth. I can just take more truth. I think I can sit through 12 Years a Slave and not miss a kernel of popcorn. I'm desensitized to the victimization of black bodies, as we say. So I understand that a lot of people are cautious about showing those things, but I think it's important to get those visceral things in there. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, so if folks coming in, so just to make sure everybody knows, right? We're talking about the film, the 24th. Um, and some great questions are coming through. Now I'm going to put this
yeah,
question
Harry
back.
had one.
Actually, I'm going to put it to you, Lex. You're asking us about the thoughts on the pace of the film. I'd like to know your thoughts on the pace of the film. So please put that in, share that in the comments. I saw another question about other films that this maybe reminded us of, which I mentioned. My all-time favorite film, um, A Soldier Story. Mike mentioned Glory. Um, and there's a couple others I think that have come up,
Yeah,
but
yeah. There's one. There's Mutiny is another depiction of a TV movie that we right now it's on the channel,
yeah,
but it doesn't have the same type of ending. And
yeah,
yeah, I think most people who watch this film will be familiar with Soldier Story and Glory, and there's certainly echoes of both films in this where the Thomas Hayden Church character is very much parallel
Mhm.
to the Matthew Broderick character in Glory, and I think I could not help but think of Adolph Caesar's character in Story
Sergeant Waters, man,
when
Sergeant
I look
Waters.
at when I look at Michael T. Williams' performance. It's a more subdued depiction of that type of person who's in charge, and he does an honorable job. I mean, you look at sergeants and black sergeants in history. You can make a list. You put Sergeant Waters from Soldier Story, Lou Gossett from Officer and a Gentleman, and
Mhm.
I think Michael T was making a good run for those in terms of the complexity of his character. A lot of it plays in dialogue. That would be the critique. You don't have as much action in this film, but when it does, as far as the pacing goes, um, the last act is pretty powerful.
Yeah,
You could almost you might get in trouble from other people. You could almost play the movie from the court martial and show it in flashback, and it'd be a more interesting film, which we've seen things like that in the past, like the Kane Mutiny court martial and um, different films like that, where it starts in the courtroom and then goes back.
sure,
So, but that wasn't their choice. So
that's right.
next time in this room,
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a question that came through about what do we think? Yeah, what do we think about the sentencing that the soldiers received? Would love to hear what you thought. I mean, let's
are
see,
we spoiling it?
Harry. Yeah,
It's a true story.
yes, yeah. I mean, just, I mean, watching that, I mean, where it took me to was to just think about how this all played out right now. Someone that is right, these soldiers, they're in the army, they are in the military, they are trained to do a job, trained to protect, right? Protect the country, to kill the enemy if needed. Now, if I'm not allowed though to go and fight for my country, right? Overseas or what have you, and you drop me in this, in pure hell, in this racist town, and surrounded by people that don't want me there, and very much in just about every aspect, you know, represent themselves as my enemy. I mean, right? You got a recipe for disaster, right? It was just, I mean, a ticking time bomb. Right.
Yeah.
And so, right, to then not justify, I'm by no means, trying to justify the killing of, innocent people, civilians, but in terms of, the main conflict between the Houston Police Department and, the soldiers is just, like I said, I mean, it's a powder keg. And, not
Yeah.
all, but some of those guys got sentenced to death. Many of them got uh, life in prison sentences, and yeah, I mean it's a bad situation. It was a bad situation all the way around. You know, I hated it, but I mean that's a part of our history. It happened. It happened.
Yeah, and that's the only way you get this kind of movie, is if it's based on
Yeah,
facts. You couldn't set. I mean, the same story is happening today, but you couldn't make a film like that and set it in today's times and make it for a general audience. So it's almost like you have to investigate these themes through looking at the past. And the reason I say you can't do it, I mean, you can do anything, but the reason you can't do it is because you're almost inciting a riot when you push those buttons in that way. But I think anybody with two eyes can see what the parallels are between then and now.
yeah. I mean, right, HPD. I mean, right. I mean, we know everything that we're dealing with in our country in the U.S. in terms of dealing with police brutality. People that are given, they have a huge responsibility, right, to protect and serve the general public. But how can I protect you? Am I going to protect you if I have biases against you? If I'm afraid of you? I'd say it's probably damn near impossible that I could, right, do my job, um, right, to do it in a way that it should be done. I mean, it's impossible, and I mean that's what we had happening then, and unfortunately, we still have it happening now. Um,
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of the story, why this story, why now? And I'm glad it's happening now because if somebody said, Gloria says hi. Um, the largest court martial in American history surely is deserving of having a film. Tough story with perhaps no one being truly heroic, but it happened and it leads to important conversations. I think, I always look at these things, who has the power to say what, and this is a story. It's not an easy film to finance or get made.
yeah,
And I'm telling you, if it had been done in the past, it would have been told from a white perspective. The Thomas Hayden Church character or some other character would have been interjected to try to show a rationale for their behavior. And I think what's good about this time that it's being made is that there's enough instances within our collective consciousness where we don't need to have those characters to justify it. We can have, like she says, have a conversation around these tensions without having to make excuses.
right,
So I think it's you're not going to see many movies like this. So I would say support it, Um,
Yeah, no,
and
yes, please support it.
and know, be aware, you're not going to see many, most people, just to get real actors in the movie. That's an accomplishment because I'm sure,
Yeah.
a studio had been, can you get one of these rappers? This guy's big on Instagram. Can you get little Uzi Vert in there as one of the soldiers, or DC Young Fly? Can he come
There's
in and
YouTube.
clean the
No, you got it.
latrine?
There's a YouTube star. Let's get this YouTube star that has 3 million followers. Let's get them in
Nothing to
there.
distract you
But
from the story. There's
but yes.
nobody coming in to steal a scene. It's just the
So
story. Even the flares, like if we talk about the Five Bloods, there's a lot of stuff that Spike will do in a film that Kevin has stripped away. He's purely interested in presenting the story. So you have to give him credit for that.
credit for that. Credit for making this film. To your point, yes, great cast. I thought the actors did a great job, and yeah, that's not, we don't always get that, but he definitely accomplished this in the film. I would say yes, we absolutely. You guys that haven't seen it, you should check this film out. It's important. I mean, I think you've probably seen it in the commentary, right? I mean, it creates the perfect setting to have dialogue, right? To have these kinds of conversations that we are having. I think there's no better time than now that we are starting to get, the opportunity just to see more of our stories, and, filmmakers are not, waiting for permission, right, from someone to green light them. Just with technology, I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. And I mean, I've watched the entire film shot on a freaking iPhone. Not saying that budget was an issue with this film or anything, but I'm just saying it's, if you want to make it happen, it can be done. And now our duty right now, when they make these films and they create, these projects to put out, it's our responsibility to support them. I mean, we got to support. I mean, that's just, I can't stress that enough. Part of right, my platform and Mike's platform, right? We watch these films, we talk about these films because we want to shed a light on, projects that maybe mainstream media is not necessarily going to pick up on, but they should be talked about, they should be watched. And the only way we'll get more of these types of films is if we support it. Well,
Or people willing to take a risk,
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
you
and
know,
right, and support it with a rental, not on a
if
broken fire stick. Let's just keep
this
it
this
real.
this is not something you see on Entertainment Tonight. This is me and the movie brother telling people to go see this movie. Um, this is under the radar. Uh, and it might shock some people. I mean, just to see it, but you know, I'm satisfied because of all the films that have come out since Black Lives Matter to sort of explore those issues, this is the first one that gave a true catharsis for a black audience in a sense. And I say that because so many of them are compromised, you know.
Another thing too I like about this film.
Birth of a Nation, you for him to get away with murdering one white person, and you don't really see it on screen. And you don't see a lot of graphic violence in this film either. You literally have to stop the whole movie to show him being executed. That's the poster, you know.
Mhm.
And Queen and Slim, if you haven't seen it by now, they die in the end, and we see it almost in slow motion.
What
You
what
know,
I what I
so this film, not to spoil anything, they have agency over their fate. And if that's what we're talking about, if you're talking about Between the World and Me is coming soon, and Ta-Nehisi, his whole thing was the destruction of black bodies. To his credit, Kevin, you know, provides some justice, but without the feeling that any action that we take will be a great punishment we have no control over. So that to me is a cathartic, heroic ending. And that to me is something that traditionally American films provide white people, in Hollywood Westerns, Hollywood war movies, um, the ultimate sacrifices of your life. So to have a film where it's not like this is under the radar. It's not like go see this because it's important, and it doesn't have a gloss of importance. It's not self-important. That's another thing with a lot of films where it's like, well, why should I see this? Well, because it's important. It's like, well, that's not good enough, Red Tails.
Oh God, oh man, well no.
So I feel like Kevin went in, he wanted to tell a story. It's important to him. It's important to the actors. He made the story he wanted to tell. He made no compromises in terms of what the actors were. He cast it well. He photographed it well.
It's a quality project. It's a quality.
Well, I'm saying, but every one of these steps, if you're not in control, it's DC Young Fly. Hey, can we get him in here? Because he's hot. He can sell more tickets than so and so. So people should, if they see it, they see it. But I think it's just he got to pass the finish line. I mean, it's really there's a lot of things in this movie that you've never really seen before in American film. So I give him credit on that level.
Yeah. Let's see, because we have about 9 minutes. So yeah, folks, I love all the questions.
Yeah, a love story. A black man who loves his woman.
Yeah. What I liked about this film, because a lot of times, we have these period pieces, and what I take exception with now, and this film didn't do it, and that's what I love so much. I think you even mentioned it earlier, Mike, is that, we didn't, it's 1917, but we just didn't see black folks just, beat down and broke and destitute just the entire film, right? You have, black characters that are heroes, that are brave, that are taking action, that are in positions of leadership. And, I could really, really appreciate that, because there's a lot of other projects out there, right? When we, they go there in these period pieces, everybody, all the black folks broke and destitute, man. Ain't just,
Yeah, and that's why I wish
and it's not true. And it's not true. It'd be one thing if, that's just, that's what happened, but that's just not true. And, I'm glad that, Kevin and team executed in this way. I mean, executed the film, the storyline in a way that, right, we got to see brave, strong characters in the film that look like us.
And that's why I wish. I mean, Black Wall Street is his own movie. It could be a mini series. So I'm not suggesting that. But I mean, you see a little when they're doing the dancing and stuff. I mean, clearly no one's poor in this neighborhood. They're almost well-to-do, and I think it would have been interesting to just get into that microcosm of self-sufficiency more than the film had time for. The film's almost 2 hours. Because the thing about it, if you're asking like, where does this hate come from? It's, I don't want to spoil the film. It's sort of in there. They refuse to see us as human beings. They refuse to acknowledge our humanity, right? So that envy, somebody can know more than you, have success greater than yours. That's why we're pushed into these lanes of entertainment, because that's accepted. Oh, you can be superhuman on the basketball court, or in entertainment you can out tap dance one another or break dance or whatever. But just to see us being human beings, self-sufficient and wealthy, was enough of a threat. And just trying to diminish your humanity over and over again, I think that's something that needs to be explored more. But what I really respect about this movie is it doesn't care. I mean, it has its acknowledgement to a general audience, but I think it's really geared towards helping us understand where we fit into this struggle, that this is not something new, that our ancestors died for us to have certain privileges, and we should acknowledge them. But um, it keeps it on, it keeps going on.
Yeah, yeah. So so we have about 5 minutes. Um, just as we wrap, any closing comments or anything that you'd like to share, Mike, as we start
I
to wrap
think
up.
I think that was it. I just applaud the effort because I mean he's coming off an Oscar win. That doesn't happen very often, right?
Hmm.
So I'm sure the next morning, say to yourself, well, what is it that I can get away with while I got some heat?
Got some juice.
A lot of people choose, how can I make more money? A lot of people, I don't have any ideas. Let me become part of the system, and I'll use my credibility to get a deal someplace. So I respect Kevin because he's a smart guy. You see a lot of the same people in his work, and he took those relationships and he used the opportunity to give us this. So, and I hope people go support it. But, my gratitude is just knowing that it exists, that, somebody's making an effort, because I know so many people, and I try to talk them out of it. I got this historical idea. I want to make this movie set in Timbuktu. And I'm like, there's no audience for that. So he playing the game well, because all his films have dealt with some aspect of our identity and history. And this falls right in line, and I hope that people, at least the people watching this, will spend the $7 and support it. So.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Please support the 24th. Um, as we said earlier, right, you can see this film on Vimeo, Vimeo, and rent it $6.99. If you do it through Denton BFF, right, a portion of the proceeds go to their scholarship fund, goes to a great cause. The film can be seen everywhere, though it's on, I don't know, a lot of different platforms and stuff, for right video on demand. But go through Denton BFF Black Film Festival, right? Great cause. Thank you, Denton Black Film Festival, for allowing myself and Mike to do takeover and borrow your Instagram live and come in and do this. It's always a great time, coming in here and getting a chance to talk about film. And oh yeah,
Your final thoughts. I should look up. What are
oh,
your final thoughts?
final thoughts are, yeah, hey, I really enjoyed watching this film. Not only is it important just because I'm saying, hey, it's a part of American history, but it's a quality project for all the reasons that we talked about, right? It was shot well. It's the visuals are great, strong cast, great actors in the film. And with that, and it's thought provoking, right? You'll definitely have some things to talk about after watching this film. I think that's plenty right there to warrant a rental, and it doesn't cost that much to rent. So that I think you should see it. Like I said earlier, I'm excited about our more of our Black stories, Black American stories are being told. Like I said, people like Kevin Wilmot. Um, and especially him coming off the Academy Award win, right? He has the juice. Hey, he's making these projects that he wants to make, and I just want to continue seeing more of that. As long as the filmmakers keep making it, I'm gonna keep watching and keep critiquing and using my platform, as well as I'm sure Mike's gonna do the same. And that's what it's all about. And so it starts with one, and it goes from there. But, I'm glad that he, felt that it was important to tell this story. Got 10 seconds. So I know it's about to shut off.